Good morning and welcome to 60 Ideas in 60 Minutes. Guys, the lights are, can you see? Nope. I guess it's good. There is a crowd. There are people out there. Again, good morning. I'm Marty Goodnight, publisher of Springfield Business Journal. And on behalf of SBJ and our team, I want to thank you for joining us this morning. We are so excited that there are many 90 Ideas in 90 Minute speakers, and these are some of our all-stars. So I'd like to say they're some of our 6 highest rated. We do send Survey Monkeys afterwards, and we're so grateful that these folks have joined us. First on the docket is Beth Domann, Executive Director of Springfield Little Theatre, and each one of our speakers is going to share some of their messaging from their 60 Ideas in 60 Minutes. So Beth, with that, we'll get you started.
You guys got a great view. There you go. Well, hello. Welcome. It is morning. And for us vampires, I'm always fascinated by how many people are out at this time of day. So here's just a couple things that the way that we work and the way I work at the theater is some of the best advice I ever got was from Mick Denniston, who is my mentor. And he taught me that if you cast a show right, you've done 90% of the work, right? So you cast the people that are the best for the roles. And this isn't just in theater, this is just in life too. You cast the right people, get out of their way. Let them do their work. Don't cast somebody and then spend a whole bunch of time throwing things at them and trying to do this just to get in a circle to end up where you started, because you cast them in that role for a reason. Just like when you hire people for a reason. How do they fit in? How do they work with the people that you've got? How does that all? Because in a cast, it's not just totally about do they have the right height and that kind of thing. How do they work with other people? How does that do that? And then you also have to give people what they need to be successful. Get out of their way. Get out of the way. Let them do the job. If you're going to micromanage, if you're going to sit here and every single thing that they do, no, let's do that. No, your job is to get out of the way, give them the tools that they need to make it happen, and support them. I really feel like my job is to fly at 30,000 feet. That's my job. My job is to fly at 30,000 feet and to see what the ripple effects are. So if we're going to open a season with one show, how does that affect the next show? Do I have the people to cast? Can I do that? Then how do I do this? Can we get it built? Can we get it built in time? Can we make this happen? Great. If we're going to do a show and then we have a big gala like we did the other day, then we're not going to do another big, huge thing after that because everybody's like passed out. So give your people a chance to catch their breath. I also think people have different needs. Some people want the applause. Some people just want to be a part of something and to make people feel included and a part of something. I think that that's really important. And I especially think in today's time, we need that. Technology's great. Well, I don't know. Not for me, because I really suck at it. I do. I suck. I'm that person. I suck. It's broken. It's just I still don't ever call me on the phone at the theater because I don't know how to check my messages. And and they always have to teach me how all the time. So I think people need to feel included. People need to feel seen. People need to feel heard, and they need to feel a part of things. And I think more and more we're starting to feel like that. And so make people feel included. We're a volunteer-driven organization. That's how we do what we do. We're a community theater, and that's how we make it all happen. We have, just to do a show is about 150 hours worth of time from beginning to end. And frankly, it takes a lot of courage to go and audition for a show. It takes a lot. It takes a lot to get out there and put yourself out there. So make people feel important and included because they are, and because that's what makes it fun. Get rid of the little clicky things. Clicks suck. Clicks, God, kill them. Just grind them out. Don't let it happen. Let everybody feel like they have something important. Also, some of the best advice I got was from Betsy Stack, and she said, take the excuses away. So if somebody's like, well, we can't do this and we can't do it. God, I hate the word can't. I hate the word can't. Can't never did anything. So take those excuses away. If you don't have the right costumes, you don't have the right lights, you don't have this, figure out how to get them. When people are like, I'll hear people go, well, I can't do that move. I don't know how to do that. I can't do that dance. Well, yeah, you can. You can. You just got to work at it. And if you expect people to have excellence, you'll get it. If you settle for mediocrity, you'll get that too. So don't be afraid to expect people to do their best. Demand it. Here's the other thing. Be on time. Always be on time. Pretty simple, right? You'd think that if in theater, the saying is, if you're not 15 minutes early, you're 15 minutes late. Because when people are late, that tells me that you don't respect my time and you don't respect all the people that are there before you's time. And it takes, well, I was late one time, and it takes getting called out one time to 50 people about how you just wasted 50 people's time. And then, boy, howdy, you won't be late again. And especially if you're a professional and you're in equity, yeah, that'll happen maybe twice, and then they'll just say, thank you. I got 5 other Beths, so they'll take care of that. So be respectful of people's time. Don't waste it, because time is precious. And the older you get, the more you know that. I still think I'm 25, and that was a while ago. Yeah, so, yeah, like I had to go to the dermatologist the other day to get all my barnacles burned off, so I didn't get enough fight. That's the barnacles getting burned off. Yeah, I have barnacles now. I'm turning into a crustacean, so it just gets better and better all the time. Yeah, I didn't know I could grow a beard until I turned 60. So, yeah. And that mustache, that was lovely. I said to my business manager one day, I think I have a mustache. And she said, yeah, I can see it from here. And I'm like, God, help me. Why wouldn't you tell me that? But, so you have to realize that, life is going to change, man, and it's never dull. So I've got my fake knee and fake hip. I'll be recycled when it's all over. So I'm looking forward to it. Also, if you feel like a goob, you're doing it right. Sounds weird, right? But if you feel like a goob, you're doing it right. Feel cool, you're doing it wrong. It's about listening. It's about reacting. That's what acting is. It's listening. It's reacting. It's being present in the moment. And let me give you an example. So everybody stand up. Just stand up. I want you to say, I am the prize. Good. Now I want you to say, I am the prize, like you're angry. I am the prize. Now look at somebody next to you and say, I am the prize. Good. Say it like you love them. Say it like you're confused. I am the prize. Say it like you. Say it to the universe. I am the prize. Say it like you are, say it like you're Madonna. I am the prize, right? Now, say it silently to yourself. I am the prize. Say it out loud. I am the prize. Say it like you mean it. I am the prize. Say it. I am the prize. I am the prize. I am the prize. Yeah, you are. Yeah, you are. Everybody's the prize. Everybody. Say that to yourself every day. Say it in the mirror and feel like a goob. And then you'll be doing it right. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Beth. I'm so grateful that Beth is a studied improv actor and also that she is the first in the alphabet. So thank you for being the first to go. One thing I forgot to mention, this QR code has a landing page that has all of their bios and all of their ideas. So if you'd like to follow along, please do just by scanning the QR code. I am so honored to introduce our next speaker, Shallina Goodnight. She is the Executive Director of the Alliance for Healthcare Education, and I know her very well.
Very happily married to Marty Goodnight.
You'll see here in a moment why she is on stage.
So first, thank you. First, let's hear it for the lighting. This is as close as I'm ever gonna get to feeling like Taylor Swift. So I'm gonna enjoy it, I think. Some of the greatest inspirations in my life are my grandparents, Gladys and Lloyd Shalla. Members of the greatest generation, I am convinced they don't make grandparents like mine anymore. I've lost them both, and most recently, I lost my grandfather. After he passed, my dad was going through his belongings, and he brought me some of the things he thought maybe I'd like to keep. One of those things was a commencement speech that my grandfather delivered in 1981 in a small town of Odell, Nebraska, which is where he himself graduated from high school many years earlier. And as I was reading it, something specific stood out to me. And it was how my grandfather was attempting to structure and answer the question, what does it mean to lead a successful life? And I've read it so many times now, I have it memorized. Here's how he answered that question for this group of high school kids that would be going off into the world. He said, success is not the number of acres that you own. This was farming community. It's not your salary, your job title, the amount of money you accumulate. Your story will be told by the values that you hold. And there was something about that line, your story will be told by the values that you hold, that really resonated with me. And so as an adult, as I think about how I define success and how I want my story to be told, when all is said and done, I hope that my story is one of kindness. I hope that it's the fact that I love people. I genuinely care about other people. When I was in high school in my late teens, I made a conscious decision to start saying the nice part out loud. And what I mean by that is whenever I had a positive thought, observation about someone, I was gonna tell him. And I'm not talking about just empty compliments. I'm talking about genuine, authentic observations about things that make people special. I was gonna tell him. So that didn't mean, it didn't matter if you were my very best friend or a complete stranger, I would cross the street and tell you, I would say the nice part out loud. And what I noticed was that I didn't run out. I didn't do this for a while and got to the end of the list and had said all the nice things. What I found was the more I focused on it, the more I noticed about other people. So saying the nice part out loud transformed my life because it transformed the way I think. By focusing on the positive qualities and positive attributes of other people, I began to think positively and became a very natural encourager, a cheerleader, and a person who loves to celebrate characteristics of other people. Now, what I noticed was there's a ripple effect there. So saying the nice part out loud impacts me, but I then noticed there is an impact on others. Encouragement matters. Encouragement is a way to connect. It's a way to make people feel seen, heard, valued. So saying the nice part out loud changed my life. It changed how I showed up for people. And I began to notice that it changed other people and how they responded. It also changed my leadership. I am a leader that is able to focus on the accomplishments and celebrate the accomplishments of other people. And so by continuing to focus on the nice part, what makes people special, we're focusing on what brings us together, not what takes us apart. We're focusing on not why that can't work, it's what can we do together. Encouraging, knowing, having a team that understands that you are going to celebrate their wins, not punish losses, creates trust. Trust creates good communication and creates innovation. So saying the nice part out loud impacts me, it impacts my relationships, it impacts my leadership, and I think it has the power to impact you as well. I'm gonna tell you a story. So I mentioned that I lost my grandfather just a couple of years ago. They lived in Nebraska, and so we made a trip to go visit him. What would be the final time? And I was aware of this going into it. I knew that it was likely that I would not see him again before he passed away. This was during COVID, and he was in a nursing home at that time, and we weren't able to go in. So the Nebraska winter, shivering next to my dad and my aunt, we were at a window. My grandfather was on one side, I was on the other with phones. Now, I mentioned that my grandfather's part of the greatest generation, and I mean that in every way that you think of it, that he was not known for really sharing his emotions at all. In fact, when he hugged you, it kind of hurt. He was uncomfortable with it. He just didn't share his emotions very much. He was a strong, silent type. Well, I'm not. So I decided at that moment that I was going to tell him how I felt. That I wanted to tell him all of the reasons that he mattered to me. So I proceeded tearfully to tell him how much I loved him, how much he meant to me, how proud I was to be his granddaughter, and how much he impacted my life then and would always. So after this, me sharing my feelings for however long, here's how he responded. He said, "Shallina, I didn't hear a word you said, but I think it was nice, and I love you." And I think that's what I needed to hear at that moment, because he didn't hear what I said, but he knew my heart. He knew my values. He knew the story of how I wanted to live my life. That I said the nice part out loud, and that I loved him. So as today you go out and you go through the rest of your day, I hope that you think about the power of encouragement and the impact it has both on you and the others around you, and that the value of all of our lives is how we show up for and celebrate other people. Thank you.
Shallina, you have left me speechless for 11 years, and you did it again. It's amazing. Thank you. The first person I thought of when I was thinking of the All-Stars was Brandy Harris. She can immediately engage and inspire a room. She is a special person for our community in terms of the heart that she brings. And I'm just so happy that you're here, and I'm so glad that you're going to share your message. And just thank you, Brandy. Look forward to it. Again, please scan the QR code for bios and ideas.
Okay. Beth, you mentioned that some people need the applause, and I am one of those people. So if you could clap again just to get me hyped up. Thank you. Thank you. Stop. Also, as a victim of Shallina's kindness, I can tell you, you can spend 3 minutes with this woman and she will see you to your core, and she will validate you, and she will help you get to the other side. She literally did that for me this morning, and I love and appreciate you. I'm also very thankful to be here sharing space with all of you and to be sharing the stage with all of you. Every person on this stage I've either been adjacent to or have a good relationship with, and I'm just honored, truly honored to be here. And when Marty said that we were some of the top 6, like, we all know we were the top 6. Like, and if you were in here and you also did a 90 Ideas in 90 Minutes, I'm sorry, but this is royalty you're among, and I'm so thankful to be a part of it. I'm the CEO for Boys and Girls Clubs of Springfield, and I started as CEO in 2019, and I was asked to come do 90 Ideas in 90 Minutes in 2019, right before the world semi-ended. And I remember being on stage thinking, like, I do not belong here. Steve Edwards went right before me, and I was like, why am I here? Oh, I'm probably here because I'm like, I don't I'm like ethnically ambiguous, and I'm young, and I'm the first female to be a CEO for Boys and Girls Clubs of Springfield in 85 years. So like that's probably why I'm here. They had some boxes to check. But what was really, really special about that is that I got to share my true heart, and it was the first time since I became CEO that I let go of all of the, this is what a CEO is supposed to stay, look like, do. And that's my first piece of advice for everybody in this room is that, you know how sometimes people are like, there are no bad questions. There are. And there are also bad ideas. And I'm saying this, not any of these, not yours are perfect, but the first 6 months as CEO of Boys and Girls Clubs of Springfield, the first female, I was 32 at the time, I would literally Pinterest, what does the CEO do? What does the CEO dress like? And all of the things that were like modeled for me were not any kinds of examples of what I was to my core. I became so obsessed with other people's ideas and visions of what leadership looked like that I completely lost myself. So my ask for you today, before I share any more, is just take what works for you and leave what doesn't. Everything I'm going to say to you today has worked for me, and it might not work for you, except for this first thing. I think everyone should do it. And the idea is get a therapist. And I say that, yes, please, get a therapist. I cannot tell you how many times I've been on public platforms where I can openly say that mental health care saved my life more than once. And there are so many people in my life or people adjacent to me who are like, well, I haven't been through that much. Yes, you have. And there's no recipe or an ingredient that you need to possess in order to feel heard, loved, validated, safe, and important. Go see someone where you can talk about the things going on in your life, and not just when you're in a crisis. Like sometimes we think, oh, I got to go see a therapist because I'm going through the hardest thing in my life right now. You can see a therapist whenever you want. And if you're thinking, I don't even know where to start, or I don't know if I have the money to do that, please, everyone in here hopefully knows how to like get a hold of me in some way, shape, or form. Please let me help you or connect you, because it's not as hard. Well, I don't want to downplay how difficult the first decision to go see a therapist is, but I can help you get there. And I cannot recommend anything more than that. My second idea is not an idea. It's just a statement, and it's, not everyone is going to like you. And when I became CEO, I was like so excited because I threw my name in the hat, and I never expected to come out as the CEO of Boys and Girls Club. I mean, I was 32. I was competing against, I was applying next to other people who had a lot more experience than me, who fit the mold of what a CEO for a boys club was. We started with 100 candidates, then 50, then 25, then 6, then 2, then 1. And it was a grueling experience. I even had people on the committee saying, we're just interviewing you as like a courtesy because you're an internal candidate, because I've been with Boys and Girls Club for 13 years. I was like, okay, that's weird to say to someone, but I appreciate the honesty, so I know where I stand. And I thought, oh my gosh, once I finally got this job, everyone's going to like me. I'm going to build a Boys and Girls Club on every corner. I'm going to raise so much money, and everything is going to be perfect. And then day 2 happened. And then I realized, wow, this is a whole different ballgame. And I'll tell you, my mental and physical health during those first 6 months took a drastic toll on me. I was receiving phone calls and emails about how a woman should not be running a boys club. I lost donations because of the fact that I was chosen over other candidates that people in the community thought should be the CEO. I was literally losing money for the kids that I'm advocating for. And I thought, I can't actually do this anymore. 6 months on the job, I wrote a resignation letter, and I printed it out, and I put it on my desk. And one of the unique things about my office is that it's connected to a Boys and Girls Club. And for those of you who are not familiar with Boys and Girls Clubs, see me after this for the 90-minute presentation about what we do. But in its simplest terms, we provide before and after school and summer care for the kids who need us most. So my office is connected to a Boys and Girls Club. And I thought, I'm going to just go walk around really quickly, basically my final farewell, and I'm going to miss this place so much, but I know that I can't do it anymore. And I'm walking around, and I come to the games room, and I see kids playing air hockey. I'm smelling a meal being cooked, and for some of these kids, it's the only meal they're going to get tonight. I'm seeing a kid learning how to tie their shoes in the corner, a kid being tutored over here, kids eating Cheetos over here, and I think, wow, this is a really special place. And then this young girl, about 7 years old, runs up to me and says, who are you? And I was like, rude, okay. My name is Miss Brandy. She said, what do you do? And I said, I'm the CEO for Boys and Girls Clubs. And she says, what does a CEO do? And then I'm trying to explain it in terms that a 7-year-old can understand. And I say like, oh, it's just somebody who cares a lot about kids and who raises money or tries to make these experiences really cool for you at Boys and Girls Club and cares a lot about you. And she looked me dead in the eyes and she said, oh, I want to be a CEO too. And then I thought, okay, this is much bigger than my feelings getting hurt because someone doesn't want to donate money to Boys and Girls Club anymore. This is about this kid and all of these thousands of kids that we serve in this community, and we provide these equitable access to opportunity situations for these kids. It's bigger than that. And I also learned that not all money is good money. So remember that not everyone is going to like you. Not all money is good money. And now I'm celebrating almost 6 years in this role, and it's because of that little girl, if I'm being honest. She changed the trajectory. My third idea for you is remember your why. There are several leaders in this building, and our jobs are very difficult sometimes. But remembering, I'm definitely going to go over time, but you went under. Okay, so remembering your why is incredibly important. I grew up all over the country. I attended 13 different schools before I moved here for my 8th grade year and became a Reed Beaver. Anybody? Okay, cool. And then a Hillcrest Hornet. And I spent 4 remarkable years right across the street at Hillcrest. And this place, Springfield, Missouri, was truly the first place I was able to call home. And I remember being a senior in high school, and I was nominated for Homecoming Queen. And I know you're like, Brandy, you're 38, like, get over it. But there's a reason why I'm telling you this story. I was so excited. I moved around, very transient lifestyle, lived in abject poverty. And I moved around so much, and when I came here, it was the first place I was able to call home, and I was nominated for Homecoming Queen, and for a 17-year-old girl, that means, oh my gosh, people like me, or people see me, and people notice me, and they thought of me to write my name down to nominate me for Homecoming Queen, so I was overwhelmed with excitement, and then immediately that excitement turned to dread, because there was this tradition where if you were a Homecoming Queen candidate, you had to wear a white dress, and we were very poor, and my mom already had this dress sewed to fit me, and it was a hand-me-down, and I was so embarrassed, and I couldn't ask her for another dress. The very next day, my high school principal, Dr. Julie Leith, who's a mentor for me today as well, called my mom into her office and said, go buy Brandy the dress of her dreams, and gave her $200. And in that moment, 2 things happened. First, she had a pulse on her students and knew what they needed without them even knowing it. Second, she did everything she could to make sure no kid felt out of place because of their circumstance or experience. And I literally get to do that for a living now. At Boys and Girls Clubs of Springfield, we exist to provide equitable access to opportunity for the kids who need us most, who are constantly faced with barriers like transportation or cost. And when you come to Boys and Girls Club, none of that matters. You just get to be a kid, and that's pretty remarkable. So remember your why, and when the days are hard, just remember, why am I choosing to do this? There's always something bigger and more important than you. So just try to remember it. So in conclusion, now that I'm a full minute over, remember your why, get a therapist, and remember that not everyone is going to like you. Bye.
Thank you, Brandy. Brandy was recently named the Nonprofit Excellence CEO of the Year, so just an amazing person. Imagine those kids getting a chance to every day work with Brandy and be influenced by her. I'm very pleased to and honored to introduce Dr. Carol Taylor. I'll tell you, the first time around, I called her the wrong name twice in front of a large group of people, and it was my cousin's name, and I'm so glad to get this opportunity to reintroduce you. So some of these are some redos. Dr. Taylor is a former president of Evangel University. She's enjoying retirement, but obviously not too much because she's here and to share her wisdom. So please welcome Dr. Carol Taylor.
I was going to say, thanks, Bob. I'd forgotten about that. So I'm so old, I actually use notes. So here's my top 10. The good, and I have tweaked them just slightly, but they're still, going back and reviewing them, I was relieved to think, yeah, these are still my top 10. So here they are. We're going to run through them. And if there's time at the end, I'll share a story about one of them with you. So number 1 on my list is choose to lead with a third-class ticket. On the wall of, it's now my home office, is a photograph, And also next to that photograph is an authentic stagecoach ticket. There's a story behind it, and I'll come back to that if there's time at the end. But it's actually a daily reminder of the universities that I've been privileged to serve that they don't exist to serve me. I exist to serve them. And if we can build leadership teams with that perspective and that commitment, our organizations can thrive. Number 2, hire for grit, integrity, competence, and humility, and those who will commit to being all in. Grit meaning passion and perseverance, that combination. And if you combine that with integrity, competence, humility, and an all-in commitment, that team will be unstoppable. Warren Buffett said it this way: hire for integrity, intelligence, and energy. And if you don't have the first, the second two will kill you. These remind me of Colin's good to great description of that top level 5 leader. He actually sums it up by saying it's the triumph of personal humility and fierce resolve. Number 3, discover what inspires you and let it inspire others. We just heard that from your story. And I am going to go back to also Simon Sinek in his book, Why. We start with why. And in his book, if you've read it, which I highly recommend, he tells the story of Martin Luther King Jr. when he stood on the steps of the Lincoln Memorial. This speech was delivered in 17 minutes, and he inspired a nation. What was his refrain? I have a dream. I have a dream. He didn't start with, I have a plan. Now, plans are important, but it's the vision that is behind those plans that will inspire not only you, but an organization. And if you happen to be part of an organization that relies on donor support, it will also inspire your donors. So find out what it is that is the vision that will inspire and drive you, and let it inspire and drive your organizations as well. Number 4, after you find that vision, you do have to go to the plan. And I love the win wheel, which is what's important now. If you have a big vision and you lead a large, complex organization or even a smaller organization, you can develop strategic plans that have 550,000 things you need to do to accomplish that vision. And people will get lost in the plan. But if you can focus on, here's the vision, here's where we want to go, but now, what do we need to do right now to get there? And so what's important now? And then once those things are accomplished, you move on to the next. Now, what's important now? People will remember those items and you'll move together successfully. There was actually a quote that I was going to include with that, which is Thomas Edison, who said, vision without execution is hallucination. Good to remember. So number 5 is confront reality with hope. Warren Bennett says that organizations need candor the way the heart needs oxygen. Jim Collins tells us that leaders of great organizations are, this is his quote, relentlessly disciplined at confronting the most brutal facts of their current reality. We need the courage to face reality, but our challenge is to be unflinchingly honest, transparent, while providing that vision that will inspire a way forward and keep people going. Number 6, honor the past, but don't live there. It's important to understand our organization's history, where we came from, the investment that the leaders that preceded us, how they built our organizations, and the journey that it took. But we can't live there. Warren Wiersbe reminds me, the past is a rudder to guide us, but not an anchor to drag us. So we need to take the risk to embrace change. Number 7, pray, but move your feet. It's actually my favorite African proverb that goes, when you pray, move your feet. It's not enough to wish and hope that things will get better, that things will change, that someone will take care of that issue. Actually, we need to move forward to achieve our goals, and that requires that a whole community move with us. If you're the only one moving your feet, you're never going to get there. So you have to tie all these things together. What's a vision that will inspire a whole community to do the next important thing and do it together and keep moving forward? Number 8, keep perspective. which can be hard in the middle of a challenging time for any organization and the leader of an organization. And especially one of the challenges if you've chosen to lead with a third-class ticket. I love the metaphor that actually Heivitz and Lindsay use, and that is the metaphor of a dance floor. That we heard that in our first story. So if you lead by getting on the dance floor with the people doing the dance, it's a good way to lead. But they said in order to keep perspective, you have to take time to step away from the dance, go up to the balcony so you can observe it and see it all and watch it. So that metaphor of be in the mix, but you've got to pull away. Personally, I have found it very helpful to pull away for some days of reflection. I love it. It's the Jesuits call it contemplation in action. And at the end of that time, often there's new perspective, a new passion that is renewed, and clarity on the next step forward. So keep perspective. Number 9, love the community. Ultimately, leadership is an affair of the heart, and it's the soul of leadership. And we have to make that choice daily, and it can be costly. But it is the best way to lead. And finally, enjoy the journey. We enjoy the adventure of leading our organizations. And for any of you who are Lord of the Ring fans, I love what Tolkien once said, and that is, every story, the best stories are eucatastrophe stories. He takes the Greek EU, puts it, which means good, and attaches it to catastrophe, good catastrophe. And if you think about it, the stories that we go back to, the movies that we go back to are often these cliffhanger moments when we think all is lost, we'll never get through this moment. Suddenly the story changes and there is a win. I've got 1 minute and I'll go back to the third-class ticket story. So when I was inaugurated at Vanguard University, the person doing it told this story. Stagecoach Travel had 3 tickets. First-class ticket, you got the best seat on the coach. If anything happened, you kept your seat. Probably seated where you didn't even have to watch the people working to get that coach moving. Second-class ticket, coach is in trouble. You get off the coach, but you can stand on the sideline and just watch the people work. Third-class ticket, you get off the coach with everyone else and you do whatever it takes to get that coach moving. And then he said, congratulations, you've just accepted a third-class ticket. Thus, that picture that hangs on my wall serves to remind me the best way to serve is with a third-class ticket. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Taylor. You can call me Bob anytime and I will answer. If you have any questions, we're going to open up a Q&A after Brad, but please text me any questions and I'll just read them from there. Our next speaker, my first interaction with Kurt Theobald was a number of years ago. We had a meeting in his office. Kurt's an outlier. He's a visionary. He's a genius. And we had a meeting in his office where we got to know each other. And I left the meeting, and I didn't totally know what that meeting was about. But we made the connection, and later I invited him to be one of our 90 Ideas in 90 Minutes speakers, and Kurt just blew it away. But what I love most about Kurt was the call that I got right afterwards that said, I have some feedback for you. I think there's some areas of opportunity that you could make that a little better. And I was all ears. So we met, we talked about that. He gave me 2 pages of notes on college rule paper of things that we need to do differently. I love that we're having this event and we have elevated it in a way, and it started with that conversation, Kurt. So I'm blessed that you shared that feedback. He is a very dear friend of mine. After I left SBJ for a little bit of time, I worked for Kurt for 3 years at Clase Lama, and he's an exceptional man. I'm looking forward to all of you getting a chance to hear him. Kurt.
Morning. When I was in high school, I participated in this event called Original Oratory. You might have heard of it. It was part of speech and debate. And whenever I went to nationals, and failed miserably, by the way, it was like every other speech was about success. And I was like, I'm never going to talk about success because everybody talks about success. Today, I'm going to talk about success. And I think the reason why so many people talk about success is because I think we've all experienced it. Growing up, there's this visceral desire for it. And it's a visceral desire for something that we can't really define very well. We're actually born into a crisis where we don't actually know what success means. We don't know what we're supposed to do. And I remember becoming aware of that as I was doing what everybody does and trying to grab puzzle pieces to understand what is this life about and what does it mean to be successful, and reading every issue of Inc. magazine I could get a hold of to try to figure it out. I remember getting to this point where I was like, I need to stop grabbing from everybody else. I need to actually get really clear on what it is for me. And I'm the kind of guy that like digs down to the deepest roots of a thing to try to understand it. And so I looked for, is there a framework for this to go after this? And I found a lot of answers, but I wanted really great questions because I love great questions. I think great questions allow you to make your own pursuit and find your own conclusions, which I think is powerful. So I went on a journey. And it turns out the success is actually extremely complex. It's a very complex topic. And so I went through a winding journey and process to try to figure it out. Now, another thing about me is one of my strengths is building out frameworks and models. And I like frameworks and models because they take complex things like what success actually means, and they simplify it in a way that allows people to engage with it more efficiently. And I also happen to love efficiency. So whenever I go through something complex and I can't find a grid or an existing framework that makes sense to me to figure out something complex, if I have to go through the complex journey, then I'm going to try to figure out how to build a model or a framework that helps other people take that journey more efficiently. And that's what I did after going through this journey. And frankly, I think we're always on the journey to understand success better. But I got far enough down the road where I said, I think I just experienced something special, and I'm going to codify that into a framework. So that's what I want to share with you today. I want to share with you the framework that I developed that helped me along the journey to understand what success was for me, and maybe it'll help you in your journey of understanding success for you. Now, to do that, I need an assistant. Now, I'm not going to ask anyone to get up. The good news is I brought my assistant with me. His name is Fred, and he is a fork. Now, the nice thing about forks is that they're pretty simple. They lead a simple life. It's a fork, not much to it. And that's actually good for us because if we can analyze the fork to understand the model, then we can apply that to a human, which is way more complex. But forks are simple. So here's what it looks like. We start with the question, how do we know when Fred is successful? It's a really easy answer. It's whenever he takes food and he puts it in the mouth. He wins, right? Success. It's because that's what a fork is for, right? That's its purpose. And actually, that's what Google says is the definition of success. It's the achievement of the aim or purpose of a thing. So Fred wins when he successfully transports food from plate to mouth. Good for Fred. But that's not the complete picture. Because again, we struggle with this question. Why do I exist? It's something that just bubbles up from our very inner being from a very early age. Why am I here? It's part of the crisis that we're born into. So we have to go deeper. How do we know that that's Fred's purpose? This is also an easy answer, and we'll overthink it very quickly. It's because we know it's a fork, and we know what a fork is for. Because we can identify it as a fork, we know what its purpose is. So I'll stop there and give you the first two parts of this, because we're working backwards right now. Is it safe to say that the identity of a thing reflects its purpose? We know the purpose by the identity. The bad news is we're born into identity crisis as well. We also don't know who we are. It's a common crisis that we all experience. So then the third question is required, and this gets down to the very guts of the thing. How do we know this is a fork? The easy answer is, well, obviously someone taught us, right? We couldn't have known it until someone taught us. We were a child at the table, someone gave us a fork and said, please stop using your hands. Can we use the fork? Here's what it does, right? Someone taught us. But how did they know? Because someone taught them. And how did they know? Because someone taught them before them. And this brings you on a logical, incontrovertible journey back to the inventor of the fork. You must know the origin story of the fork to know what the fork is and why it exists. And that completes the equation, completes the model. That origin defines our identity and our purpose. Now, that's a very uncomfortable thing, because guess what? We also are born not knowing where we come from, so this whole thing may not be very helpful. But here's why it was helpful for me. Because it at least gives me a grid of the right questions to ask that then guides me to answers that hopefully make increasingly more sense through my life. The issue that I see in our society is that this crisis, it's almost like a secret. It's almost like something we hide because we all want to look confident and, be the one that has the answers. And we're taught that actually. We're taught it in public school. We're taught it by the institutions. We're taught it by, it's like we need to look a certain way and have all the right answers and get the good grade, right? We're taught it from the beginning. And so we don't actually feel the freedom to let down the guard and be like, I actually don't know the answer to that. I'm still figuring that out. And to be vulnerable in that. And one thing I've chosen to do in my life is to be vulnerable and look like, what was it, a goob? What did you say? Look like a goob. It was you. Look like a goob. Be willing to look like a goob. I was like, you know what? I'm just going to look like a goob. I don't know what's going on. I don't know the answers to those questions. I'm just trying to figure it out. And that actually, I think, helped me to gain some solid answers. And the beautiful thing about gaining solid answers about these fundamental questions is that it gives you this sense of solidness and this centeredness. It allows you, there's an alignment that happens that gives you strength. And that strength combines with a direction that makes sense, that creates a vector of force, and you become a shaper of the world. Instead of merely someone who's impressed upon by the world, making copies of somebody else's script. And that's what I love about this, is it leads people closer to that conclusion. Because the thing is, what the world needs is for you to learn who you really are. Not what somebody else is telling you to be, not what the institutions declare you ought to be, but who you truly are. And then to learn to live like that person is. It's like Billie Eilish says, and this is the invitation I'll leave you with. Don't hide away, come out and play. But the only way to sustainably come out and play this amazing, beautiful adventure of life is to really answer those three fundamental questions. So that's my invitation to you. Because the truth is, the world does not need an artifice. It does not need an image that you maintain. It needs the real you. Thank you.
Thank you, Kurt. And thank you for your grace in that first meeting that we had that I stumbled through, but so glad that we got here. One question, I have gotten one from the audience, is were you sitting on that fork the whole time?
Actually, I had it secreted up by Zach Standiford halfway through,
Okay.
But it has been an uncomfortable experience since then.
Okay, so whoever asked that question, now you know. Our final idea speaker is Brad Thomas with Silver Dollar City. Silver Dollar City is one of my favorite places on the planet, and I'm sure you've all been there. And as I've known Brad for, a decade, it's a product of his team and it's a product of his heart. And it's such a wonderful place for our entire, Midwest. And it's a product of your leadership. So I'm so thankful that you're here to share your ideas. Please welcome Brad Thomas.
Good morning, everyone. So I'm going to go through a list of things that shape me, my leadership, but I have to first give credit to a lot of folks in my life. I'm not going to go through all of them, but I am a product of Central High School here in Springfield, Missouri. I am a product of Missouri State University here in Springfield, and countless individuals who poured into me in those schools, in my church, in just my family, and then Silver Dollar City itself. 34 years at Silver Dollar City, a culture that is centered around people, a care for our employees, a care for our guests that really come from the Hershans that started and still own Silver Dollar City today. So I'm going to go through some points here. They may be right for you, they may not be right for you, but they're the things that guide me and the ideas and the principles that lead our team. First of all, this world around us is always changing. And therefore, we have to continuously be learning. If we aren't learning, and we are that person that thinks they know it all, because we know there are some people that are like that, One day you wake up and the world you thought you knew no longer exists. It's the fact. Those little mobile devices that we all rely on every day, if you think back 20 years ago, there were different kinds of devices called pagers. In 20 years from now, who knows what they'll be. Today's high tech will be tomorrow's relic. It's the reality. May those be the devices that become the relics, not the humans that become the relics. So we have to continue to learn. Number two, it doesn't matter if you're in a service field or an entertainment field or in a ministry or in a business, the person whom we serve is relevant and so incredibly important. We have to have a passion for that individual or that group of individuals that our organization serves. That passion should be felt through the leadership, but also through all of the ranks and through all of the frontline folks. Number three, we need to lead and empower. I don't think anyone in this room would raise their hand and say, oh, I long to work for a micromanager. But yet, if we put ourselves in front of a mirror, we may honestly have to say, maybe I do micromanage some. I don't want to be micromanaged. But how many times do we swoop down and start counting the weeds in the field instead of elevating ourselves and being the true leader that's going to lead? You don't want to be micromanaged. I don't want to be micromanaged. So may we not be those who are micromanaging. May we be those who are empowering folks. Because I find in empowerment that there's enthusiasm, there are incredible ideas, and things can happen when we empower our teams to make decisions. Fourth, there are a lot of things out there that we all deal with. Whatever your organization, you deal with a whole lot of things. And man, we can be detracted by the texts. We can be detracted by all the emails. We can be detracted by people that want to meet with us. I just need 30 minutes. I need an hour. I need whatever. And what we have to remember is it's the boulders that will move our organization forward. Those big rocks, Stephen Covey's term, those big rocks are those things that make a difference in our lives. In order to hit the big rocks, sometimes we have to delay on some of the pebbles, and sometimes we have to push some of those pebbles aside. Number 5, focus. Oh my goodness, when I was a kid, I didn't focus very well. I drove super fast. I walked super fast. I talked super fast, and I talked about a whole lot of different things. Now, some people who know me well in this room might be saying, well, Brad, nothing's changed. But I had a mentor one time that said, Brad, focus. All my friends focus. It was some of the most incredible input that I got. None of us can do everything really well. We have to focus on the things that matter. And when we focus and when we teach our teams to focus, oh my goodness, we can then start accomplishing amazing things, especially when we go back to the previous point of focusing on those big rocks. Next up, celebrate results versus effort. If we want a culture of success, we can't just be rewarding folks who work hard. That's a really big point. Do we appreciate folks who work hard? Yes, but we need to make sure that our culture is celebrating results, because some folks can work really hard, meaning they're there a long, long time in the day, but they really didn't accomplish much. We need to move the hard work into accomplishment, to success, and then we reward the success, not the hard work. Next point, work hard, but take time to have fun at work. Whether it's birthdays, whether it's work anniversaries, whether it's relationship anniversaries, whether it's sales accomplishments, whatever that it may be, it is super important that we make time to have fun at work. Because if we're not having fun and our teams aren't having fun, we won't have a long tenure of folks, and we won't have success for our teams. 9, find your own creative ways to make a difference. I'll use this little theme park that I work at as an example. And it really is a culture back from the Hershens, and it continues today and will continue in our strategic announcements as we move on into the future. we could go do things that other places and other parks and other fairs and carnivals do. So let's just take Outlaw Run, for example. We decided we wanted to build a wood coaster. We decided that we would open that in 2013. So we started in that journey the end of 2010, and we started thinking about what kind of wood coaster we would build. Well, guess what? It could have been really easy if we went to a park and we said, hey, let's just build that wood coaster exactly like that. No real features or effects, just another wood coaster. Well, guess what? To that family in Houston, Texas, or that family in Minneapolis, Minnesota, if we would have opened a wood coaster just like their hometown park, there'd be no reason to get in a car and drive to southern Missouri to visit this place called Silver Dollar City. This, I don't even know what this 1880s mining thing is, and they've got a wood coaster just like my home park. But our team came up with an idea to create the world's most daring wood coaster that ended up in the Guinness Book of World Records, that ended up being the best new ride of the planet of all theme parks in 2013. And it put us on the map of roller coaster enthusiasts that got on planes in Germany and in Great Britain and in China to come to southern Missouri, flying through Springfield Regional Airport for one reason, to ride a wood coaster at Silver Dollar City. That creative ingenuity was what drove us to a whole new set of performance. And our team continues to think through those things. And this next point is really, really important. A lot of people in this room are a lot younger than me. Some of you may be older than me, but this I know. At some point in the future, today will be tomorrow's good old days. Think about that. You may reflect 10 years ago, you may think 20 years ago, and you'll think about those good times that you had and the people that were in your life. But at that moment, were you celebrating that that day was the good old day? Trust me, at some point, today, whatever today is, will be tomorrow's good old days. Marty, thank you.
Thank you, Brad. I had my geography a little mixed up. I said Midwest, and I meant the world. So we've got some questions coming up, but before I jump into questions, good news is we have a lot of folks coming this morning. We have a great crowd. We also have a little bit of hectic situation out in the parking lot, I understand, that there are some cars that are blocked in. So if you think about your journey into the parking lot and maybe where you're parked, if there was someone in front of you and someone in front of them, those people may need to leave. So after this, or if that comes to mind, please know that we have a parking situation. My first question, and then they sent me 13 license tags, so I am not going to read those to you. However, please know that that is something that's in the works. First question is for Brandy. Oh, well, Brandy, we're here. You and Shallina, you guys are going to get in trouble. Besides staying motivated by the children, what are other ways you overcame self-doubt in your new CEO position?
Who asked that? That's a really good question, and honestly, like, I haven't. The real answer is that I actually haven't figured that out. I think I have so long been searching for external validation or for people to tell me that I'm good or that I'm doing a good job or that I'm a good leader or that I'm like worthy to be in this position. And over the last year, maybe, I think I started like trying to prioritize like finding that in myself. But that takes a lot of unwiring, rewiring, and a really good support system of irrationally passionate people who care more about me than I do on certain days. So people who can tell me to keep going and that I'm capable. That is part of it. Also, the therapy that I mentioned before. I mentioned that I've grown up all over the country. My mom was married 7 times, and each one of those marriages took us to a different state. We lived a very transient lifestyle, impoverished, experienced a lot of unfortunate circumstances. And one of the really cool things about my job now is that I get to use those experiences to fiercely protect children. So in therapy, I'm able to reframe a lot of that tragedy from my life. And it does help me stay motivated, but it's also incredibly hard. So I think my final answer is therapy. I'm not always motivated, and also having a group of people who just, I'm looking out in the audience, and up here, there are a lot of people in my life that, I don't know, I just love you with my whole heart, and thank you for motivating me. And I'm also trying to work on motivating myself, but that's hard, but I'm gonna do it. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Next question is for Dr. Taylor. What is the best piece of advice you have given to someone learning to learn in a servant leadership role? Greatest advice you've given to someone regarding servant leadership?
Wow. Just do it. Just do it. Think less about yourself. Focus on the people you serve. Pay attention to the person in front of you. Learn their story. And the more you do that, it just becomes a natural way of serving. So don't think so much about yourself. Sorry. And realize wherever you really are there to serve people. I think one of the dangers, especially as we move up, we think of it as moving up the ladder of leadership or executive leadership, is we tend to begin to look at the people around us and the organizations as our stepping stone to the next thing. And we don't even, so think about the story we just heard, right? Someone saw something in you and encouraged you. And we each have those stories of someone who saw something I have to be honest, it was never my life's dream or goal to be a university president. And how that occurred was actually after the current president literally walked out the door the day our accreditation team showed up and we knew we were in trouble, right? And I still wasn't the first choice. I'd just gone there to be a provost and help move their academic programs forward. And at a moment of crisis, I was asked, so would you step in? But you'd just be acting like a president for a while. And pretty soon the acting turned into actually doing it. So I think one of the greatest dangers for us in leadership roles is we begin to think that our organizations exist to make us famous. And the minute we're there, we stop being effective as leaders. So just think less of yourself and pay attention to the people around you and how you can make your organization better. And the next thing will open for you.
That's the theme of our next family meeting, Shallina. We're going to go through that. Not for Shallina, no, for our children.
Do not call her out on stage.
I did.
Can I say something? I don't mean to talk this much, but I just need to say something about Dr. Taylor. That question was awesome, but my first 6 months that I mentioned earlier, I remember Googling female leaders in Springfield, Missouri, and her name popped up, and I asked her for a meeting, and I went over to her office, and she was the only person I met with in the first 6 months of this role who did not ask me about my experience or my resume. The only person. And literally was just so incredibly inspiring. And this just do it thing is not just for the stage. She has said those words to me and I knew her for 30 minutes. So this is just the real deal. And just could you just clap for her, please? She's incredible, so.
Next question is for Kurt. This question's from Gabriel Leal. How to balance all success areas of our lives: personal, relational, spiritual, professional. What's your advice for balance?
Sure. Yeah, it's a great question, Gabriel. It's about structuring it according to your values. We actually have a leadership structure and training at Classy Llama, which is a company that I own, that walks through this process to identify what is most important to you in your life, what resources do you have. Now allocate those resources according to your values and your priorities. And what that makes sure is it makes sure that the most important plants in your garden get the water that they need to grow and prosper. Because again, so often we just get batted around by the priorities imposed on us by the world. But this is part of taking ownership of ourselves and our lives and looking at what is most important to me. And I'm going to allocate my personal resources to support those things first, and everything else has to make space around those things. And that creates this beautiful experience where you know that the most important things in your life are actually being prioritized because you intend for them to be prioritized with how you allocate your resources.
And this is our final question for Brandy. What strategy in your fundraising efforts have been met with the most success that you would impart to other nonprofits?
Well, don't do it. No, I'm just kidding. It's so stressful. Right now, we're in the middle of a $12 million capital campaign to build a state-of-the-art teen center for middle and high school students in the Springfield area. One of the great things about Springfield and Missouri in general is that we have placed a lot of attention on early childhood education, which is incredibly important. But what that has unintentionally and inadvertently done is neglected middle and high school students. And that time of your life is incredibly, incredibly important. And I'm very excited about opening this hopefully next year. But everyone's a liar, and building a building sucks because every day it's like, hey, we're at it, it rained, so we can't build it for another 6 years. Or like there's soil, and you don't even realize that soil can be unsuitable. Like you have to remove bad soil and then put new soil in, and it's just a nightmare. But that's the real answer. And then my CEO response is, I would come back to remembering your why and being incredibly vulnerable and transparent about what you're doing. Like the reason why we have been able to raise $10 million in a short amount of time is, number one, we've crafted this vision that a Boys and Girls Club is not a Boys and Girls Club project, it's a community project, and how will it influence and impact the entire community? I think crafting those narratives is incredibly important, but my experience and my success has really just come from being honest about the situation. Like a lot of times nonprofits or other people raising money for a cause will be like, everything's going great, the soil's fine, everything's perfect, but honestly it's not. And if you're transparent with people and you bring it back to the why behind why you're actually building the thing, the support will come. I will also say, when I still have this energy, but when I first started, I was like ready to go all the time, nonstop, wanted to build Boys and Girls Clubs on every corner. And my board gave me some of the best professional advice I'd ever received, and it was, we need you to slow down. And I was like, no. But then they were like, we're 36 of your bosses, so you have to listen. And I was like, okay. And it was the greatest professional advice I'd received, because what I did for 6 months then was just listen. I listened to kids, parents, community partners, donors, volunteers. I just listened. And then I was able to craft a vision for Boys and Girls Club that wasn't just mine, it was all of ours. And I learned so much during this process. So I think that the two big keys to a successful fundraising campaign is to listen to the people who are going to be impacted by it, and actually listen, like active listeners. Sometimes it's really hard for me to do that because I get excited and I just want to go. But if you can sit and be patient and actually listen to the people who are going to be influenced by the thing that you're creating and your donors, what they want. So listen, be really honest and transparent about things that are going on, and then bully people. Persist until you get your money. Like, figure out ways to, no means no in a lot of situations, in most of them. But when a donor tells you no, that's important. When a donor tells you no, not right now, that doesn't mean no forever. Be persistent, but follow the law. Okay, there you go.
We are at our time. This has been a phenomenal, reunion. But we're so glad that you're here. We have a lot lined up for you. It's called Connect for a reason. It's to connect with each other. It's connect with our speakers, innovation, ideas, and our exhibitors. So please, after this break, please get out and make some new connections, make some new friends. Beginning probably a little after 10 o'clock, just because we're a few minutes, but we're tracking well. Mike Giersch, who is the general manager of the St. Louis Cardinals, is joining us as our keynote speaker today. He's going to be talking about data, analytics, and a little bit of baseball, but data means something to all of us. And he is a data guru, and it's going to be fun to hear how he incorporates that into managing a Major League Baseball team. We also have just a great lineup today. So get some free coffee. We've got a lot of surprises through the day. Around noon, we're going to have an ice cream social, and then obviously a happy hour today. But we've got more content lined up. Thank you for joining us. Could you all please stand and let us give you a round of applause? Thank you, everybody. Enjoy the day.